Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Thursday. It's August 14th. It's been a really uninspiring kind of trading day. This is what I was watching all day. When this thing finally broke higher here, the only thing I could see was you measure that and look for maybe a measured move, and it looks like we're right at that to the tick right now. Will it go higher? Maybe, or will it turn down from there? I don't know. But that's what I was looking at all day. There's a possibility that maybe there's something that starts here and works up. Let's just see how that. But you couldn't really make that fit well on the upper side. I guess you could, and that's right where we're at. So maybe that's what we're working on now. Um, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't buy. You really couldn't find that till late in the day. I guess you could have seen that line right there, um, and you would have had that by about 10, but you really didn't get it confirmed down here till 1 o'clock. So you just can't really use that. After the fact, that looks real obvious, but during the day, I was looking at this more as a range. I mean, this is more rangy looking than a trend. But really, from this move right here, it's been up all day, even though it was real choppy looking. And you can see this kind of a trading range right here. We had one right here, and you got to be really careful entering in that stuff. And originally, I think I had this a little bit tighter too. I had it more like this, and off these closes down here. Not, and who's to say that that's not even right? But I couldn't understand why we kept overshooting it. So, but uh, maybe that's because of the secondary channel that I just showed you right there, starting here off this one. But you just really couldn't find that today. No, it was almost impossible to find until it's too late. And we may even go higher here, but whereas at the moment we're right at that measured move there, and that's what you would expect to see. Normally I would have measured it from here, but we didn't go very far and we came back to that same place. So once you started realizing it's going higher, that's when you would look for that measured target. So, but other than that, there's just not much happening today. But there is a very good learning opportunity here because I always hear people saying that, you got this move up and then you want to start shorting in here. And you could have shorted this one but I really didn't play that one. I was playing that one off the failed breakout higher here. Um, and then you got another opportunity here. But when this thing didn't sell off and it kept going higher and then it gets stuck right here again, you got to be careful selling that. And I believe, if you'd have tried to sell this one or this one, you'd have had a loser, and I believe this other one. Let's just see what this other one was. If you entered here on a stop, 48.50, you'd have just gotten out of that one. So, but that's why I don't like it. But you had to get out right there. If you'd have taken the second entry that kind of happened right there, you don't get out. You wouldn't have gotten out of that one. You wouldn't have gotten out of that. Now this one would have been a winner, and it is a failed break out of here. But by this time you realize, hey, this thing's still, even though it's weak, it's still going higher. And you got to be careful counter trend trading or you'll liable to get stuck just like you did right here. And look at this sell-off and this sell-off. They both, there's actually a failed second entry short right here that went long. I think it's real close to what looks like a possible top of the channel, so it's a little bit aggressive, but you could have gone long right there. It's right at the, let me see what time that was though. It's 3 o'clock, so it's, I'll leave it there, but I don't think you would have wanted to take that trade. And notice we're still working higher here, and there's still maybe 8 minutes to the close, something like that. But this was just a really uninspired trading kind of day. I mean, you really got to be careful entering in this stuff. You got to have a trap or something like you had. And this is like a breakout pullback long with a failed second entry short. This was just a first entry. There was a second entry long here, but you can't risk that. There's a second entry short here, but again, by the time you enter, you're right back at where the support and resistance line is at. So you can't risk that. So you're better off. This is just this actually should not be red. This should be violet color. And I think you just want to take this and take it right up here, because it's just like a repeat pattern almost. There is a failed break lower here, but you didn't really have the trading range, and until you started making these multiple highs and lows, it was a little bit hard to know for sure if it was a trading range. So you didn't have enough evidence here yet. I didn't want to go long there. If I'd have had this in place already and I knew the line was higher, this might be worth risking. I don't know. I still think you want to wait on a second entry that doesn't come to here, and then you're right back to the little double top, and you don't want to go long into that double top. So not a whole lot to talk about today. The first trade I saw here, this one is like right on the border of being green and blue, and you got a little channel working down. You had a break, and you had a big, huge sell-off that went straight to these lows, and then look at that reversal bar. So you had your break and a leg down, and this is really strong support here. So I could see, aggressive traders going to probably take that, knowing you're going back at least to the EMA. There's enough room to scalp out. And it goes much higher than that. So this was a fairly decent setup. It's still green, so it's still going to be aggressive. And then you just kind of got hung up in this right here, and it started early. There's a little failed break higher there that makes you want to think about going short there. But and you did have a new high. You had your break here and a move to a new high. But I just didn't. There's 1, 2, 3, and this is even a fourth doji. It's not overlapping. It's kind of a little failed break lower, but you see it turned down and went back up, and so you probably would have got stopped out on it anyway, even though it would have worked. If your stop went up here, you were good and it would have worked. But if knowing how a lot of you try to tighten your stops, you probably would have got stopped out on that. And but that's why I always say your stop goes above your signal bar 1 or 2 ticks, and don't monkey around with it. But there was a little a little range coming down through here, and you got the break, 2 legs down to a new low, and then it reversed again. But you didn't need this trend line down here. This trend line was not that hard to find, especially if you just drew it off those first few swings there and used this close right here, really. I usually try to get in there where I get the most touches. That's probably going to be right along there. And didn't quite get there. I've kind of moved these lines. Originally, I didn't quite have it this steep. I had it a little flatter here, and that brought it below that close, and it brought it kind of right across these highs. But I adjusted a little bit. Once you got a little more price action, it was a little more, you could adjust it and get a little more accurate. But the main reason I like this one is this is a clear trading range. You can see the lows, you can see the highs, failed break lower, and what does it do? Look at that little reversal bar, and it goes higher. This is why we don't trade breakouts, because you go short right there. You might have got a scalp out of that, but I don't even know if you'd have got a scalp and it reversed and it's going the other way. And then guess what? It breaks out the other side, and they trapped a bunch of people to the short side, but if you drew this trend line, you knew that was the first break, so we're probably going to push up again. We actually pushed up twice more, but I don't think you go long in there. Now I'm thinking short. If we get up here and break out and have a failure, go short. And so I like that short. There's plenty of room back to the EMA. It actually went a little further, and then it bounces again. And, if you're paying attention, look at that reversal bar. This thing should have went lower from here. And I think it's a little risky, but I know, the fact that, he tried to go lower once, tried to go lower twice. This is almost, even though it went a little higher here, this is just like a little 2-legged pull back to the EMA, and it reversed. So there's some reasons to think long. Again, I drew it in green. It's kind of, it's really kind of aggressive. But look, we pushed on up, another easy one, and it did the same thing here. It's almost like a repeat pattern, except you didn't get the nice little bullish bar, but it's close enough to being a repeat. Look how it broke higher by a couple of ticks, turned down and bounced. Look how it did the same thing here. It's a repeat pattern. So You could really call that a repeat pattern and trade it that way, and you would have been okay. But again, I think it's really aggressive. And notice it's bouncing off the EMA. If you had your midline in here, right at the midline, lots of different things going on there. And you can't go short there, and you can't go long here or short there. That's really still kind of no man's land. But at this point, you didn't have that much evidence. It's when it made the double top here and then bounced here again. That you kind of knew this is a trading range. And then notice that new low. You start running first entry short, pull back second entry short. It fails and turns up. So I like that one. And plus it's that double test of this area right here. And this one goes higher. It is real close to those highs, but you've got a trap here. And you're looking for prices to go a little bit higher. Even if you had that right there, you're still looking for prices to go a little bit higher by now. And there's enough room there to get out. So you get the most touches right there, though. And, of course, it takes on off. And then, again, you got this little trend working down. I thought, well, maybe it's finally going to reverse. And then you get the close outside, a move to a new low, and it reverses right off that line again. Look at that reversal bar. If you're still trading around 1 o'clock, I think you got to take that. And then again, you got a new low here. Pull back first entry short, pull back second entry short. It fails. Again, we talked about how late in the day it was. You don't want to take that, but it's there. And you might have considered taking it. And you did have this little trend line. I don't have it drawn here, but there's a little trend channel line working up through there. Say it's going to be probably like that right there. And that was the first break, and then a move to a new high. You can see that fits pretty well on the other side there as well. And it actually gives you more room there, but you can see it coming right off those bars, and you get the break and move to a new high. And that was it for today. Just not much going on there. But again, I wanted to talk about this. I've gotten a lot of questions about going short off these new highs like this. And this is where the danger comes. And I'm guessing that some of y'all were probably getting short in here and losing money. But look at that EMA pointing up. Everything's still bouncing off the EMA. You didn't get much rejection there. This one was kind of tricky. You didn't even get much rejection there, but notice how it can't close really down below there. It's struggling to. Then it's getting stronger here and even stronger here. So the momentum was building for it to burst higher. Notice how the close is way down here, and then the next close can't close, but it's way up here near the high, and it reverses again. That's your little signal that the buyers are starting to gain strength and the sellers are losing strength. Here it looked like the sellers were going to take over, but all that really is all these people that bought all the way up are profit taking. And notice this: there's one leg up, a correction, and then a second leg up too, right there. So I'm sure there were a lot of people watching that measured leg up right there. And you can see it, a perfect measured leg. And you add all the other criteria as well: the failed break higher, the break of this little trend line, and 2 legs up to a new high, a nice reversal bar. There's just lots of reasons there. So I hope that makes sense. And really, I wish there was more to talk about today, but that was it. And I stood around here and watched it longer than I normally would, and I just didn't see anything that stuck out to me except what you see right there. And that only really gives you 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this one right here could really be green. It's right on the borderline, but because of the trap and the other things I talked about. So, that's 1, 2, 3. 3 to 4 really solid trades, with the rest being, not much you can do, without taking a risk. And really with the EMA pointing up like that, with it continuing to bounce, all the clues are there that we're probably going to break higher. How high you're going to go when you break higher, I just don't know. And here's the other thing. I haven't really measured this yet. We may I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have just a measured move right here. Well, what do you know? So that would have been your other spot if you were still holding on to something or trading it. You would have been looking for your high. It's just amazing how this stuff works. Actually, that's a one tick higher. So I mean, it's there. It is. You see me it measured there. You move it to the top, and where does it go? It goes one tick higher, but it can't close above that. And or you could have measured it the other way that I showed you. There was your first leg. This one's not. This one's a little different because you would have expected it to go higher from here, and it couldn't. So I think too many people were still trading, looking at this channel, and by this time late in the afternoon, they finally were able to push it higher. But that's that gets you within 2 ticks of the high. So anybody that says you can't get an idea where the market's going just doesn't know how to do it. So, but that is very interesting that it turned out just to be a double range. And you can see how many times, and that's what I'm always telling you, you got to be real careful going long up here above a resistance line until it acts as support. And it finally acted as support here, and then they double tested it, and that's usually what you need to see to go higher, and look at it go. And I never would have expected it to really break higher there and go above. And you see it still found resistance, but it finally got on through. And once it started heading higher, they're hitting everybody's stops because all these people probably got short here and short here and short here. And but one thing I will say, and I may have said this yesterday, I can't remember, but I know I had a conversation with a trader, and for whatever reason, once you see a pattern that's holding, it's much more reliable in the morning than it is in the afternoon. And I don't have an answer for why, but that's just my experience. I like to be done by noon. You don't have a lot of surprises before noon. Notice how you got most of your big movement before 9 or 10 o'clock. And then it was just kind of dead until late this afternoon when it finally pushed up higher. And that's kind of typical that you get a lot of your best movement from, say, 6:30 to 7 a.m. Central Standard Time to about noontime Central Standard Time. And a lot of times it'll start to lull after about 10:30 or 11. And that was the case today. It kind of lulled from about 10:30 all the way through till 1 o'clock or so and it may have something to do in the afternoon with the funds or people, the market movers, the people that buy that can move the market. I know that there's a lot of them that have a buying scheduled for around the 1 o'clock hour kind of area. It's always kind of been Central Standard Time. So that may have something to do with why it doesn't adhere as well to the rules and the channels and the lines. Your short-term one still should work the same for the most part, but late in the afternoon is when you finally will get a break, like you got a break out of it. This channel was obviously working all the way until here, and I do believe that in the end, like I said, you couldn't find this early enough. But I believe there's a channel right up through here and right up through there. I mean, that's fairly obvious now. And somebody said they were looking at one from here to here, and I looked at that too. And maybe there is. Let me just try to put this on the top side. Yeah, it doesn't really fit as well on the top side. Well, maybe it does. So maybe that is right, because somebody else was looking at that earlier. But again, you didn't really get it confirmed until here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's not, you're getting some touches up here at the top. This thing is probably really more like that right there. So see how this is not really getting there? Just kind of like it wasn't getting there across here as well, though. I just didn't, and you didn't have this right here, so you would have been looking at that and it's like stuck in the middle. So it just didn't fit really well to me. Um, so I didn't like looking at it. This one looks better right here to me than that one did. But in the end, this one looks really well right here if you start it off of those swings. But again, you wouldn't have those swings until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, I'm long done with my trading by then, or hope to be. So let's just see how midline fits in that. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good to me. So I think that's probably what we were working on all day that you just couldn't see. Um, we just didn't have enough price action. I think it was a mixed bag, to be honest, because I think people saw this channel that I'm looking at here, but I also think people were looking at this more up until about maybe right here. They were looking at this like a trading range, and even then, it looks like there's a lot of indecision because we just got stuck in a smaller one before they pushed it. But there's no doubt that the overall bias from about right here, I'd actually say from here around 9 o'clock was up. Everything's above the EMA almost all day long. We got a little bit push below it right there, and then a move to a new high. So anyway, I've talked 21 minutes, and there's not much even here to talk about. But these are good learning opportunities because there's a lot of trades in here that you know not, and you got to be really super patient on a day like this. And I'll say this, and I mean this sincerely. If you sat here all day and didn't see a trade and didn't take one, that's not a bad thing because there's not. Like I said, there's maybe 3 or 4 solid trades. The rest of them are aggressive. So you're better off to sit here all day and not take a trade than to get short right in here or here, or, you know, to get long in here somewhere only to watch it sell off. You don't want to make those mistakes. So no trade is better than a losing trade. And there will be days where there's just not, it's not real clear. I mean, some days the channel is so clear you don't even need the lines. That's how clear it is. It's not like that today. It's more, it has more of a trading range feel than it does a trend feel. But in the end, the bias is definitely up, and it's definitely an uptrend. So, and the clues are all there. Notice how we just can't get below the EMA. And so I hope that's helpful to you. Maybe there's some learning opportunities in this chart today, even though there's not a lot of good trades today as well. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back to do it tomorrow and wrap the week up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.